I'm Dr. Bart Rademaker, Prescription for Your Transformation, Real People, Real Conversations, and Real Success. And delighted today to be talking to Gary Allen Rush from Breakthrough Technologies. And very excited to hear about his incredible experience that he had together with myself and a bunch of other transformational leaders and legacy makers and destiny holders, as I like to put it, and the artists of life. In a South Pacific trip to the South Islands of New Zealand, North Island of New Zealand, as well as Vanuatu. And what an incredible trip, what an incredible place to create these amazing new distinctions, breakthroughs, if you will. And want to welcome Gary today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bart. Thank you for inviting me, and it's going to be a great time today.
Awesome. And we have a little bit of a challenge of technology here. So once in a while, we're going to get a little background noise. But Gary, share with us what was New Zealand really all about? What was your intention going there? I know that you had some very unique, not unique, but very special for yourself, new distinctions that you developed.
Yeah, for us is, we got invited by a good friend of, a mutual friend of ours, by a guy named Chad Cooper. And I've always been impressed with Chad Cooper. I think he was in the running to have like the most things done and accomplished in their life by age 40. He's a remarkable individual. And so he invited me, and so it had had a lot of appeal different ways. One is it would give me an opportunity to spend time with him and develop my relationship more with him and understand what makes him tick. Two is I'd been to New Zealand one other time, and I'd only been to the North Island. And so this particular trip, we were traveling all over New Zealand and going down to Christchurch and Queenstown. And so just for the beauty of New Zealand, I wanted to go. And then three is the people that put this trip on had organized a variety of activities and, things that they sort of marketed as doing your bucket list. And so we had a wide range of experiences, both speaking at a stadium, going to a spiritual center and meeting the spiritual leader, doing physical activities, climbing mountains, doing all. So it was just a mixture of experiences packed into about a 2-week period. It was a great experience.
One of the nice things that you were able to experience, as well as myself, but in a different way, is that you brought part of your family with you, and that must have been pretty special.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I've been married now for 25 years, and so my wife Melody came along, and she's like she loves to travel, and I knew she'd love New Zealand. And so it was great for her because it's a trip that she typically would not take on her own. So it gave her some new experiences that she normally wouldn't have if she was just we're just going to Hawaii or something like that.
For anybody listening in, by way of introduction, Gary is quite a remarkable fellow, quite accomplished in many ways, and also defied the odds that many people deal with, older people, I should say, deal with, and that's getting old. And one of the key things that I believe that's important for you is how to have that vibrant health and everything else. And it has to do a lot with your attitude. And for those who, again, are listening in, New Zealand was a remarkable trip. We went with 40 transformational leaders with Live Your List and Sprite L'Oreal Global, with a purpose to not only learn and grow and expand ourselves, but see how we can contribute in a larger way, not only to the people that joined us, but also to the communities that really needed some very specific help. And what I enjoyed hearing from you, Gary, as we were talking before the show, was a very unique experience that you had, or we had, if you will, when we were with the Waitaha. And I'd like for you to share your, particular distinctions and insights.
Yeah, I loved it for me because I knew going into the trip we were going to be spending like 4 days with the Waitaha, and I just knew a little bit from the write-up that I saw about it, and I know they're referenced as the water bearers, and they're the oldest indigenous tribe, and for sure in New Zealand, maybe the world, I don't know. So I knew a little bit about it, but I didn't have any other expectations. And so, and during the trip, we went there, and we got there in the evening, and it started that experience. And they greeted us, and they have some unique traditions, how they greet you, and part of it is they're very like song, and so that's part of the greeting. But as we went through the trip, it really, I'm glad I didn't have any expectations, because I didn't realize that I'm calling it the chief of this. His name was Taporoho, who was this really spiritual leader that the Dalai Lama visited, and it was a profound experience meeting this gentleman, that you felt different around just being in his presence. You felt love and you felt acceptance more so than I've ever felt. And then just how he developed his spirituality, the simplicity of how they live and how they enjoyed life, it was so refreshing and such a recharge out of your life, away from all the Wi-Fi and all the other distractions, and to meet this indigenous tribe that practices these principles. And so it was just a gift that I didn't anticipate.
And so you said something also special, and that is not taking things too seriously. Why don't you expand on that?
Yeah, it was interesting to me, and Bart, I would love your take on it. My take on this was, we had, like you mentioned, a group of about 40 people, and there were some people in that group that had suffered tragedies in their life, and I think they were at a stage where they hadn't gotten over it yet. And for me, I'm somebody that can feel people's energy, and so I felt a lot of pain in this group for some of the people. And so we go to this, we go to the Wataha, and they're there. And one of the things they have as a ritual is, like, they have this pole that you hold, and you'll know the technical term that they use, but you get up and just speak whatever is on your heart. And you get up and speak, but then they have a tradition that after you speak, you have to sing a song. And so what I noticed, I watched a transformation without anybody doing interventions on people, is within 2 or 3 days, people are singing, out of the blue, and they're singing songs from their youth. They're singing songs that they heard on TV. They're singing popular songs in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and it can completely transform the energy of that whole group without anything more than just being a very simple approach, being away from all the Wi-Fi and distractions, and singing and talking about your truth. So, but I'd love to see any other distinctions you want to add, because I thought it was remarkable.
Yeah, what I found quite beautiful about that particular experience is, in essence, the intention behind the song, and then the singing itself. And the intention behind the song is really just another way of expressing something that's deep to your heart as it relates to all things that you just shared, but then to bring in the whole group together as a whole. And so everybody now becomes one with all that you just were, if you will, in that moment of sharing. And I thought that was an incredible thing. I mean, when people sing in general, they kind of come together, but they come together just because of the song itself, and also because of their individual emotions or feelings at that very moment. What was unique about this, which I now realize as we're talking about it, is how ever becomes one with you and all the things that you shared. And I just want to add on that. What was interesting is, in this particular environment, in the Marae, as they call it, this is a large space, sacred space, where they place their ancestors and photographs of the ancestors on the wall, and so they're even part of the continuation of that whole, and where anything can be said, anything can be shared, and it's received without judgment. It's received without critic, and which is wonderful because people can then just express their challenges or the fears, or quite frankly even their joys and their successes, and have it shared and be witnessed as an entire group. And then you just the cherry on top, if you will, is really the singing.
Well, and I'm glad this is the first time. This is the first time we really spoke about it since we've been back. And so I love your take because it gave me some other insights as you spoke about what happened and transpired. The, you know, the other element of it, you're right, it's like by singing, and sometimes, like for me, I'm not a singer, and so are the group of these 40 participants that were with us, I would ask, well, do you know the words to this song? And so they would all sing it with me. And so it brought everyone into one. And oftentimes they're all songs that we know, and they're fun songs. They're times, special times in our life that have an anchor to our nervous system, I believe, that just brings a joy to the whole group. So that was one remark. The other thing that was remarkable to me, and you were referencing it, is the how they live, the Wataha. They, I, oftentimes it's hard to find in today's world where you meet someone that you really feel that you're not being judged and that you are loved just because you're there and you're a human being, and it was penetrating. And I think that the term that I use with that tribe or that is that they have such clean energy. You feel so comfortable being around them because there's not any posturing. It's authentic. It's authentic. It's not judgment. It's just pure love. So I mean, it was a great, fabulous experience.
Yeah, what was indeed very special about that too, if you remember, is how they actually welcomed us home. And I've never been welcomed, in any home like that before. I have so many friends all over the world, and they all said, "My home is your home." But this was different. This the energy that was put out there, where they just fully embraced us, just as we were, and in that moment, or just as we are, and honestly believing that we're all related, and within this tribe, and this tribe, or this indigenous tribe, when people look it up, clearly comes from all parts of the world. And when you meet the very specific people, I mean, you have all sizes, all colors, all looks, everything, and it is one tribe. There aren't any specific qualities or characteristics that would define this, except for all of them. And what I really enjoy too, in listening to Topohoro, or Papa, as I like to prefer it, because I'm not sure I pronounce his name correctly. Um, More importantly, was there are no rules, and which is great because that takes away the need, as you were putting it, posturing. There is no place for posturing. There is no place for judgment, because there aren't any rules except for one. Do no harm, don't hurt. And what a wonderful place to come to know that you have permission just to be yourself. And how often within our culture, how often within the workspace, in relationships and families, are we constantly being told that we're wrong? And here we have permission to be exactly who we are.
The other part, and this is sort of fun talking about because it's bringing back anchors for me that are very positive. Or I think you've probably been the same way. I've read different, spiritual literature, and even more popular people like Wayne Dyer, and they talk about how we're all one, that, you can't bomb this country and not have an impact you. And so, and I've heard the metaphors is like, think of it like, if you have one cell that's cancerous cell, it affects all the other cells. So it's about this oneness. And so, like you said, they say, welcome home. And to me, it was the best example of actually experiencing the concept. I mean, I've read the concept, I agreed with the concept. I understand the concept, but I've never experienced the concept. And that's the closest thing I've ever experienced with this particular tribe. Great, great. I wish I
Yeah, what I liked, I'm sorry, go ahead, Bart.
could. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
And what I liked about it too is being there and just being happy, and you looked at them and they're all happy. They all had lots of energy, big smiles. Everything was okay, and it was such a warm welcome. And what's also interesting when people look up the Waitaha, this is a non-violent culture that they have there, and based on that history, it's very interesting how they just avoided violence at all costs. Even when violence was brought to their door, what would happen, and Ricky was the one I think who was sharing this with me, was some people would sacrifice themselves. They would mislead the warrior tribe, lead them away astray from the rest of the group, whilst the rest of the group would escape. And then when they knew that they were safe, they would just sit on the ground and be sacrificed. What an incredible way to live.
Yeah, yeah. No, you got a great memory, but that's exactly how I remember what Ricky talked about. Yeah. So it's it's a unique experience, and then and I'd love your feedback too, because we'll call him Papa, the spiritual master there. That it I can still remember when we got there that evening, and when we had they were like in almost like a circle, and we introduced ourselves to the tribe members, and we go around, and the spiritual leader we call Papa was at the very end, and it like took me back when he said welcome home. It just like penetrated through me. It wasn't just a statement like how you doing, or welcome home. It was like there was a power behind it. You can feel it. I mean, it was true, it was authentic, and it just from that moment on I knew something was different, because like I mentioned, I didn't have an expectation that we were going to have that experience. I didn't know this Papa was going to be this spiritual master, but it was an incredible feeling, and I had that experience then throughout the events when I had chances to interact with him.
Nice. So my question for you, as we wrap up the conversation about New Zealand, share with us, a specific distinction that you feel is much more relevant today, and perhaps relevant in the work moving forward that you're doing, and the message that you want to share.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest takeaway from that for me, and this is where I love your input too. You know, I really do believe that music does bring people together, and it brings certain angers. And there's even a book about how music affects your brain in a very positive way. And so the biggest takeaway for me is that sort of ritual they had, where you would just get up and speak and as a group, and what was on your heart or whatever you wanted to talk about, and then afterwards you would sing. If we practice that, or you practice that in the family, you would have uh, a more fulfilled life, a happier life, and a closer bond with your family. And so then my only question would be, bringing this back to the United States, and I believe everything is possible. How do you now incorporate that into your lifestyle? Because we know it would make a profound difference. So, I mean, I'd be curious what you have to say on that.
Actually, that's a great distinction, and I already have an answer for you. That's Edwin Coppard, which maybe you remember him from some of Tony Robbins' events. And he's a phenomenal voice coach, and he strongly believes, as I do believe, that we don't use the power of our voice as well as we could, because our voice is what really connects with the world around us. And you know a lot about communication technology and the importance of voice and tonality and everything else. But it's also the voice that we speak to ourselves. And I'm hoping actually to organize something with Edwin up in Canada, in the Vancouver area, so that we can get in touch with the power of our voice and really learn to express ourselves in the fullest way, either not only to the rest of the world, but also to ourselves. And oftentimes it does come through our song. And, as he likes to put it, most people don't believe that they can sing, but he's proven at events with 3 to 4 to 5,000 people that everybody can sing a song very powerfully, even if it is Row Your Boat.
Well, I love you brought it up, and I had to laugh because we recently moved and we're organizing our house, and I actually have a CD by Edwin about training your voice. And so I'm going to bring that baby out and start using it and applying it more because it does. It changes your biochemistry and your feeling and your state in a very powerful way. So no, I love it. So and then you'll have to keep me updated on this trip that you're going to take with him in Canada. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, you said something critical, which I didn't mention, is your voice, your singing, does affect your physiology, does affect your chemistry, and it does affect it in a very, very positive way. And so that's a wonderful tool, that we can always use, to change your state. And certainly, I'm going to put that plug out there, Edwin Cuppert. Hopefully, I can put a link on this today, so that people can check him out and see what he can really do. So my final question for you as we wrap it up, Gary, is also specifically, I mean, you're a phenomenal coach, but in particular, you're a phenomenal coach because you walk your talk. You do, what it is that you say. And the emphasis is also that you can be young, even in your older age and older years. And so any new things or anything you want to share about your particular style of your coaching and who is it that you want to help?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. And there's a particular. I'll keep it short, but as you know, Bart, one of my passions has been health, and it amazes me is I've been able to do some things that people don't believe at my age. I'm 65, and I've been able to do things that much younger people have not been able to do, and that didn't come by accident, didn't come because I have certain genes. It's because there's certain principles that if you apply will impact your health and also your joy of life and how much more you get more juice out of the life if you feel great. So the quick thing I will say, I've studied this for a long, long time, and I just recently read a book. I'm in the process of reading it. It's called The Plant Paradox by Dr. Gundry. And I've read a lot in health, and to me, it's the best book I've read, and I believe it's a breakthrough. And with all breakthroughs, it will take a while for people to adopt what he talks about because it's gonna all the social hypnosis of what health is and what foods we should eat, and it will take a transition. But I know this in the short time I've been practicing it, I've already noticed a significant boost in my own health and energy. And then if you read his book, you can read some of the remarkable turnarounds he's had with patients that had MLS, Parkinson's, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, by understanding the principles that he's sort of discovered over a long, I think he's early 60s, and so he's been an MD for at least 30 years, and so it's a well worth read. Get the book.
I just bought it.
Fantastic. It's great.
So, and as a coach, how do people find you? And what are any particular things that you like to focus on, or is it just general? And I know you do both personal and business. You also work with the Tony Robbins Company. You've got your own practice. And like I said, Gary is someone who really walks his talk. He did this incredible event last 2 years ago that even puts some SEALs to shame because they can't make it, but Gary did.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, for people that, well, first let me say this is that I love, I love working with business owners, but the main thing I like working with are people that want to stretch, and people that want to stretch, and that's and Bart, we've had some conversations about it. It's really a focus of mine this year in getting people to stretch out of their comfort zones and do things that they didn't think they can do. So, if you have an interest in that, you can contact me either through my email address, which is coachgman1@gmail.com, or you can go to my website, coachgman.com. And yeah, so bottom line, I love what I do, and it's been a pleasure talking with you today, Bart.
Yeah, Gary, thank you so much. Total respect for you, and you're quite an example for me as well, a role model as to how we can live, and really appreciate the connection that we had out there in New Zealand in particular, because you were there with your wife, and it was an immediate bond between you guys and myself and my own daughter, and you made her so very, very welcome. You were honestly the catalyst for her to have an incredible experience, for both of us, I might add. And that goes a very, very long way. And so I want to thank you for that. I'm Dr. Bart Rademaker, Prescription for Your Transformation, Real People, Real Conversations, Real Success, talking to Gary Allen Rush, CEO from Breakthrough Technologies. What a phenomenal coach. And I look forward to many more conversations. And I'm looking forward to creating a roundtable where many of us can work together on this single platform and have an ongoing dialogue. And as long as the technology supports it, we'll make that happen. So thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Cheers.
So we're off recording.
The Facebook Live has stopped.
All right, we're good.
So no, thank you. And I'll real quickly again, as I've mentioned many, many times, but it's better to do in person. And I really did enjoy getting to know you more, and I know we'll do more things together. And I got a chance to know Chad better, and that was such a gift. And then the surprise bonus was meeting your daughter, and and I've said this to you is we're now getting back some of these talks, and we got yours, and the one talk that I remember out of everybody's is Gabby's. Mm-hmm. I mean, it touched me. And so I'm a big, huge Gabby fan, as you know, and it also made that whole experience that much better. So I'm so glad you brought her along. And it made me joyful to say the connection that you guys were getting. And I don't know the whole history, but I know part of it, and it was a beautiful thing to see you guys connect. So.
Yeah, it was really cool. My intention for that trip was to have her have a great experience, and that was my primary focus, and it happened. And so it was a lot of fun.
All right.
All right, Gary, thank you so much. Give a big hug and a kiss to your lovely lady, Melody. And we missed her, unfortunately, but we'll connect soon.
Okay, tell Gabby I said hello.
Cool.